Hey everybody, I'm Tim, and today it's time to experience things the way an aficionado does. You're watching Cigars Daily. Get more out of this and all our videos when you join the community on Cigars Daily Plus, and now when you watch this video on Rumble. In this world, experience is everything. And I'm not just talking about the experience of going to work where you get to deal with problems all day long. I'm also talking about the experience where you get to go home and deal with problems all night long. That's right, the experience of most people these days is stressors on top of stressors. Somehow filling our worlds with technology and advancement has made things more complicated and more difficult. Who could have saw that coming? The truth is, when people look to premium cigars, they're looking for an experience outside of the daily grind. An experience that allows you to slough off the worries of the world, kick your feet up for a minute, maybe enjoy a Cigars Daily video, and look to a refined aficionado experience with a premium blend. That is the thing so many people are after, dating all the way back to Winston Churchill, where he explains in letters he exchanged with his mother how a premium cigar gives him a relaxation that just nothing else quite can. And there's a whole experience inside of every premium cigar, an experience that can be more or less good or more or less mediocre. And so today I want to dissect the DNA of an excellent experience. And I'll tell you up front, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially as I have enhanced my coffee drinking experience tremendously. And I want to tell you something up front. This is not a paid advertisement. Nobody's incentivized me to tell you this. And if you watch Cigars Daily Live, you've probably already heard me talk about my Ember coffee mug. I was standing in line at a Best Buy and I said to myself, $120 for a coffee mug is obscene. I would never spend that. And then my parents found it like this holiday season for $80 and they got it for me for my birthday. But what this has done for my coffee experience has been beyond revolutionary. You see, and I'm going to come back to the cigars really quickly, so bear with me for a second. My coffee experience has always been the same. I get a cup of coffee, I take the first sip and I'm like, sucking in air with the coffee so I don't burn my tender little lips and my cigar tasting tongue. And then at some point, about, a third of the way through the cup, it's cool enough that I can comfortably drink the coffee. And then at the very last little bit, the last half an inch in the cup, it's so cold that you just kind of like, gulp it down so that you don't have to pay attention to the fact that it's gross and cold and sort of bitter. And now I've got this Ember mug. And that's changed all of that. What used to be like a sort of a bell curve of a situation where it started off bad, ended bad, as Ryan, the defender of the flat earth, calls it, it's the Goldilocks experience. It's too hot, then it's just right, then it's too damn cold. Now my coffee is exactly the same. See, my phone has an app where I set the temperature of my coffee, and when it reaches that temperature, my phone notifies me. And once it notifies me, my coffee sits at a perfect 136 degrees every single sip, all the way down to the last one. I tell you all that only to say this. It's changed the way that I think about coffee, the whole experience of coffee. And now I'm just not willing to settle for anything less. It's enhanced that experience for me. And when it comes to the world of cigars, aficionados are looking for the elite experience. It has to do a lot with the blend. And by the way, in this video, I've got Pravada's Blue Cheese, a cigar that I didn't even know existed. I think is a relatively new cigar. And also didn't know that people referred to money as blue cheese. I had never heard that. And so I'm fascinated by the blend, but this AJ Fernandez made cigar has produced an experience that I wanted to bring into this video and share with you. You see, A good premium blend has a complex flavor. It has excellent construction. And all of that is born out of the blend that goes into the cigar, the actual different leaves that are used, and the hands that are used to craft it together. So choosing a cigar in a lot of ways is about experience, but at the same time, there's so much that comes in between the lighting and the putting out of a cigar that contributes to experience, and that's what I want to share with you today. Now, I'm going to ask you this. If you consider yourself to be an aficionado, and there's something about the experiencing of a cigar that you feel matters, it helps get a better experience out of each blend for you, I would love to hear more about that in the comments. Please drop a comment down below with your top cigar experience tips and tricks. And if you're just getting into the world of premium cigars, you can look to the aficionados down there for some great advice, because there's some amazing people in the Cigars Daily Nation. But here are my top tips that I've seen help aficionados get the most out of the cigar experience. And with no further ado, let's jump right in. Now, I'm going to actually kick this off in the middle of my list, which, by the way, this is about as much preparing as I typically do for a video. But in the middle of my list, I've got this point that, as I sit here and think, is truly the first thing. It's the foremost. It's the foundation. It's the paramount. And it has to do with setting. You see, premium cigars are something that aficionados enjoy all over the place. While they're driving in their car, while they're sitting on the back porch. Sometimes they're sitting inside of a cigar tent. People do this inside of a cigar lounge or at the park or in their own living room. All over the place is where cigar aficionados are, but the route to a great experience really has to do with location. You see, some premium cigars offer a drastically different experience whether they're enjoyed indoors or outdoors. I can tell you from personal experience that it's like having two different cigars for me, whether I'm sitting at my desk enjoying a cigar or driving down the road in my truck. Now, there's a bit of a trade-off here because sitting in my office at my desk just doesn't really provide nearly as much fun and excitement as driving down the road. Here's the problem. The more like exterior, outdoor, I think, and faster moving that I am when I'm enjoying a cigar, the less of the experience I'm getting from it. Driving down the road with the windows open and like the music blasting in my face, like this is all kinds of stuff that actually introduces extra sensory perception into my brain. And for whatever reason, just makes it harder to get the full and deep nuances of a premium blend. It's something I find much more attainable when I'm sitting at my desk or in a cigar lounge talking with some friends, and I can get more of my brain to focus on more of the flavor. And that being said, I have to note that who an aficionado sits down with is going to have a huge impact as well. I've spent the last 10 years working in cigar lounges, and I got to tell you, there are some people who, when they come in, people gravitate to them because that cigar experience can be made or broken by sitting down with the right or wrong person. You sit down with the right person that intrigues your thought process and makes you think deeper about life. It's truly a magical experience. Personally, these days, there are a few things that I value as much as a great conversation. It is one of the things I find myself most consistently thankful for in the cigar world. When I can sit down with a blend and just talk with someone about something that ignites my passion and my soul. At the same time, I've seen more than a few people who, when they pull into the parking lot of the cigar lounge, the place empties. It's like a bunch of roaches. Everybody gets the hell out of there. And this really speaks largely to the fact that who a person sits down with is going to impact their time. It's almost like the people in a cigar lounge are an extra flavor note to the cigar. And there's just this kind of skanky one that comes with certain people and causes them all to leave. And I don't feel like I even need to tell you that you got to consider the company you keep while you hang out in a lounge. I think this is something people are naturally going to do, but being aware of it will help you be decisive maybe a little bit sooner and put up with maybe a little bit less. All right, now that's a lot of hullabaloo about where you are and who you're with, and I think that those things are highly valuable and one of the first things to consider because truly, you got to have a solid foundation for a good experience, and there are some things that are just practical about any blend. You know, all premium blends are very different from each other, and the level of quality really does vary quite a bit. Some are more basic, more affordable, a little bit more yardsticks, the kind of thing that someone might have while they're mowing the lawn. The other ones are top tier things, the ones that they save for special occasions. But the same principles apply to every single cigar for getting that elite experience from the first draw. The first one has to do with cutting and lighting. On cutting a cigar, there's this really simple way to put it. And that has to do with a dime's width, my friend. If you have a dime around you, or you can even picture one in your head, you would realize that a dime is unbelievably thin, like millimeters thin. And that is exactly the amount any aficionado wants to shave off the top of the cigar. It's literally just cutting off enough to create draw. That's it. A lot of people want to cut way too deep in the cigar. That can ruin the experience when the cigar unravels. But getting a nice clean cut to make sure to create as much draw as possible is the first and foremost. The second thing has to do with lighting. A lot of people in the cigar world sit there and they toast the foot of the cigar. They use the invisible flame, the invisible heat at the tip of the flame, and they get themselves a nice black toast on the foot. But more than anything, ensuring that the entire foot is lit all the way around with every edge of the wrapper being touched by that flame to give it a straight burn, that is, I think, probably the number one key to a solid experience. I have discovered very few things that can ruin a cigar like a crooked ass burn. And there are some bad burns I've seen out there. I see people post pictures online of their burns slanted like this. It's like someone trying to walk up the side of Mount Everest, that burn is. And when the wrapper starts to burn unevenly, that means that the cigar's flavor is going to go wonky. You see, a premium cigar's flavor profile has to do with the even combustion of wrapper, binder, and filler. If they're not burning in unison and they're all wavy, or they're canoeing down one side or tunneling down the middle, that is not going to be even remotely possible. It's the time when most aficionados notice that there is just absolutely no kind of flavor they were looking for. And so when it comes to getting that perfect experience, an even light starts it off right. But then also, and I probably do this more than anyone, sitting and touching up the burn. If the burn really gets off, I think a lot of people want to just fix the burn by, holding the burn side, the bad burn down. That's what Steve Saka recommends. And dang it if it doesn't seem to work. Personally, I like to take my torch, go after that burn line, and just keep it razor sharp and perfectly straight. And I find that the flavor tends to stick around. And the next one is my personal Achilles heel. This is the thing I personally have the hardest time doing, and I've seen some people do this better than others, and that has to do with frequency of puffing, for lack of a better term. You see, the flavor of a premium cigar is actually the result of sort of an economy of different things inside the cigar. The first one is that burn that I already mentioned. The next one has to do with the leaves themselves, the oils that hold the flavors in the profile. It has to do with the lengths of those leaves in the cigar and at which point you've combusted every single leaf to open up the full flavor. It's sort of like looking at a painting as you get closer and closer, but your eyesight isn't that good. But when you get close enough, you see it very clearly. That's getting into every leaf and getting a consistent flavor. However, you can ruin a cigar's economy by puffing on the damn thing way too much. This is what I tend to do. When I sit and I'm especially at my desk, I tend to puff, I would call it gratuitously, on my cigar. The result there can be a cigar that heats up and it gets bitter even at times, but certainly I notice some flavor notes can become muted or muted early on, and just the cigar's flavor gets muddy and no good. Taking time with a cigar is a key to getting an elite experience out of it. They say puffing on a cigar 1 to 2 times a minute is reasonable. Personally, I get irritated by trying to meter my cigar puffing, so I tend to want to just sit and enjoy the thing as I can. But especially during cigars for me that commemorate a special occasion, I find myself working to savor the flavor notes in a cigar, and that does cause me to slow down. When I sit back and reflect on what I'm tasting and what I'm finding in a profile, that forces me to set the cigar down and sit back and just think about those different flavor notes in the profile. It's something I end up doing a lot more when I review cigars here on this channel. And so there you have it, just a handful of things that for any cigar lover are going to take that experience and make it just an edge better, just a little bit more elite, take it to the next level. And just like my Ember coffee mug, where every sip of coffee from the very first to the very last is exactly what I was looking for, hopefully the things on this list make it a little bit more clear as to what makes a cigar experience so elite. And I do want to encourage you to drop your comments down below. What are your tips and tricks for the experience, the one that elates your palate? I would love to hear more about it. And of course, check this video out on the community on Cigars Daily Plus and on Rumble. Thanks for watching. This is Tim signing off for Cigars Daily, and I will see you in the comments.